All right. I'm sorry, I forgot to look at this. We went to the oscillator. Okay, we forgot to go back to this for the envelope. We did the filters, and then there are the effects. One thing I want to get into, which fits in somewhere. We'll just put it oscillate. LFO. Okay. Sorry, I'm being silly. I'm gonna put this and put it like this because it fits in to pretty much everywhere. Okay, that was stupid. The LFO is a low frequency oscillator, so it's different than the other than the oscillators in that it is low frequency. It's not like I said before, the audible frequencies for oscillators is between 20 and 20,000. Low frequency oscillators will be, well, 20 and below. What would we need that for? Well, basically we're going to use that to modulate different parameters. By default, operator will modulate the pitch of your oscillators and do this stuff, and then you can play around with the rate, the amount, and the waveform that it's using. So this is a square, triangle, like Pac-Man or something. All right, cool. And then you can also choose where you're going to be sending that to. And when, you know, classic old school dubstep sound is that old school wobble. And we're going to send the LFO to our filter. And I don't know, I haven't messed around with this in a while, but we should get it to work. There we go. Most synths will also let you sync the rate of your LFO to your DAW directly, which means you're going to be, instead of acting in hertz, you're going to be acting in, you know, quarter notes or 16 notes synced to the BPM. So if I move this up, it actually moves with it. So that's the BPM button of live, for those who are wondering. So that's what the LFO does. You can now there are other destinations which you can choose, volume of your oscillators, as well as like a whole bunch of parameters. So basically the LFO is sort of this add-on bonus you can put on a synth to have more modulation going on in a sort of a constant way. In this case, you even have an envelope for the LFO, which means you can make it so that it takes a while before the LFO kicks in. So that was long. So yeah, in this case, it took 20 seconds for the LFO to kick in. The other place where earlier we saw there was another envelope is for the filter. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit. We can also mess around with the envelope of a filter. Oh yeah, we have to turn it up first. There we go. Yep. So you can clearly see the sweeping that's happening on the spectral analyzer there. So it took 8.7 seconds to get to well, from the 329 hertz cutoff frequency up to the well, to in this case 18.5 kilohertz, which is the maximum as dictated by the amount of envelope I'm throwing on here. So that pretty much sums up what we have, what functions are available to us in most synths. Now, some stuff will vary, but most of the stuff I showed here is pretty much available in any synth. So that's the tools you have to play, that you can play around with. And I set up here a little example synth to show you what we can do. So, before we get into that, there's one really important thing I have to get into, is the fact that obviously now we've been using only one synth, one oscillator. In this case, we have access to 4. So once we start adding oscillator, right now the mode that I selected is additive synthesis, so we're just adding on. This plays around with the tuning of it, so, and we can start stacking. And have each oscillator will have its own envelope, and in some cases they'll even have their own filters. Not in this one, fortunately, but anyways. And so we can go ahead and add, let's say, a noise on top. So that's what we have to mess around with when we start adding them up. If we go into the little example synth I've created for you, sorry about that. We started with a hand-drawn waveform, if you will. So I drew the different harmonic content I wanted. Let's start with just this. We've got a pretty sharp envelope. Let's turn the filter off. Actually, the envelope in this case is completely straight for the amplitude on the synth. I'm going to be using the envelope on the filter instead, and so I want the oscillator to be ringing full on, or this first oscillator anyways, to be ringing full on for the whole duration of the cycle, as I want the filter to have something to sweep at, pretty much. So to start with this, which is the hand-drawn waveform, added a square, added a sine that's sort of phasing our first waveform, and added another note on top to that. So in all of these, we have basically no attack time and a very, very short release time, and we're not messing around with basically, because our sustain is at 0 up on top. Well, the decays and sustain just don't matter anymore. They just, as soon as you push the button, it goes on. As soon as you release it, it goes off, or 50 milliseconds later it goes off, which is pretty much right after. Okay, so we've got the filter here. And this is why I wanted to have not to have any important envelopes on the oscillators. I'm using the envelope directly on the filter. There we go. What this does is, we're getting a nice stabby sound, and if we wanted, this would be more patty. Oops. And I also added on a bit of... Oh no, I didn't have any LFO on this. We could add one. Let's put a little bit of LFO on the filter. This is going to come on very gradually. we got something. Obviously, I would personally never leave a synth straight like this. I would like to add various amount of effects, but it's a really good place to start. As soon as you start adding different effects, like let's say, let's add some reverb to this just to create a sense of space to it, and already it's going to be a lot more interesting. Sorry, again, not very used to Live 9 yet. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but hey, I'm sticking to my guns. There we go. We're going to throw a reverb on here. Already we got this sort of grimy little synth going on. That could very well be used. You could even add a bit of saturation to that. And yeah, there you go. You got something. So, that's pretty much what I wanted to get into, and I'm so sure I went way overboard and I'm like at 35 minutes, but anyway, I'll try and chop this up so that it makes sense, and hopefully this helped you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Add a comment in the comment section of YouTube, or send an email. My email will be right there in the info section of the video. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoy that.